Ask Reddit by Royal Tumbleweed 910. Would you be opposed to removing one nation under God from the Pledge of Allegiance, and why or why not? One nation, under Canada, above Mexico. Robin Williams. Further proof that that man was too good for this world. I think it's possible to argue both cases. For the removal, if you want to talk about the secular state, this perspective argues that the Pledge of Allegiance should reflect the principle of separation of church and state. By including one nation under God, they believe the pledge infringes on the secular nature of government and public institutions. And some people argue that the phrase excludes individuals who do not identify with theism or monotheistic beliefs. But in terms of opposing the removal, you can argue on the grounds of historical context, as it can be said the Pledge of Allegiance was added in the 1950s to distinguish the United States from atheist communist countries during the Cold War. Some individuals would also consider the phrase a reflection of the nation's cultural and moral values. And finally, supporters of keeping the phrase might argue that it respects the beliefs of the majority of citizens who identify with a religious faith. They believe that retaining it shows respect for the cultural and religious heritage of the nation. This is an interesting question you put forward. Did ChatGPT write this? It was inserted by Congress in the early 50s as a reaction to the Red Scare. And even though the original pledge has socialistic origins, I'm not a fan of pledging loyalty to government. Loyalty to governments can be earned and lost. Interestingly, plenty of countries had these pledges in WW2. Only the USA kept theirs after the end of the war. Opposed. I advocate for it. It blatantly violates the Establishment Clause. Just because people in favor of the addition say it doesn't specify the Christian God, even though everyone knows that's what it means, doesn't make it any more acceptable. But removing one part of the pledge is the wrong question. The entire pledge is weird and flirts with indoctrinating cult-like bullshit, and we should do away with it entirely. I'm okay with removing the Pledge of Allegiance altogether. It's creepy and cultish. Your Honor, I pledged allegiance to the flag. Everything else was fair game. One nation under God wasn't added to the pledge until 1954. So yeah, it can be removed and should be. Yeah, it was put in as part of the peak of the anti-commie fad. Apparently, they thought communists would recoil in fear like vampires at mention of God. I'm Christian, but it needs to be removed from all public buildings and our money. All are tantamount to government establishment of religion, and violate the First Amendment. The pledge, though, is an abomination and should be entirely removed. Our country fought for its independence to be able to be free of pledges of fealty, and forced recitation is something that gets douchebags like Kim Jong-un hard. Seeing your comment got me thinking about the Christian perspective on this, and I have to think that money is one of the last things Jesus would want to be associated with. Get rid of the entire pledge. It's super creepy to have children literally pledge their allegiance to the US flag every single day. I stopped saying the pledge in school. The teacher wanted to discipline me for it, but I offered to sit quietly while the other students did it. But I didn't see the purpose of pledging allegiance to an inanimate object on the wall. The fact you have a pledge at all is weird. Sincerely, the rest of the world. In Texas, the kids have the American pledge and the pledge to Texas, which is wild to me. First of all, a pledge in school is just ridiculous. Then, you have a pledge to your country and the state you live in. So which is it? Your state or country? Which is more important? The whole thing is so dumb. And kids need to know that they cannot be compelled to say either pledge. I think the entire pledge should go. Forcing young children to pledge blind allegiance to their government is creepy and fucked up. It's the kind of thing you would expect from North Korea, not from a supposedly free country. All governments are corrupt and fallible, and none of them are deserving of your unconditional allegiance. Always found it really creepy as someone who's not American. Where I live, we were taught that Nazi Germany used to have pledges like that as a way to indoctrinate the populace from a young age. So, when I found out they do that in the US, I was quite shocked tbh. How are parents even okay with that? One nation indivisible with liberty and justice for all. I would like for us to go back to that line and remove the intrusive add under God that interrupts the entire flow of the pledge. I think we should remove the pledge altogether. I agree. It's literally indoctrinating and it's creepy as hell. I'm not pledging any allegiance to any government.